a long time.
So
good
yeah,
game.
we love Grandia, Nick. I'm not a big fan of 2, although they kept the battle system. I just didn't think the game was as like fun and joyful as the first. Any thoughts on Grandia? Anybody who played it?
I liked
No.
Grandia 2, actually.
I played the hell out of Grandia too.
But Grandia 1 is available on PSN as well.
Yeah, and it's not
And it's not a horrible port, because
Yeah.
it was originally released.
Well, actually, it
it
is a
is
horrible
from the
port.
Saturn. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
it's a terrible port. But I mean, it's still playable.
I retract my previous
And you
comment.
know what? You won't know any better because it's not like you've ever played it on the Saturn.
Unless
you
you
know?
have.
Unless you're one of those people. In that case.
Unless your name is Shane Bettenhausen.
Yeah, and he's not listening to this. He goes on to say, this is also from Nick, Skies of Arcadia was another fantastic RPG that could have been talked about more. Well, excuse me, Nick. It was easily one of the best titles for the Dreamcast. Skies also used the VMU to find some of the pellets to level up your companion Cupel. Or you could use it to level up your characters to get more gold. Thoughts on Skies of Arcadia? I say it's an awesome game, and I'm sad that Overworks went on to make Shinobi and then Nightshade, and then probably just fell apart because of Sega's, I don't know,
At least
problems.
at least it got a release on the GameCube.
Yeah, he does add that it did come out for the GameCube, and there was like 10 hours more worth of content. But I think that was a world that could have been revisited, but it just...
I don't. If it got a sequel, I almost guarantee that would be a horrible sequel that would make us all cry. And it would probably be for the PSP, and it would probably be a Monster Hunter style action multiplayer RPG.
Wow, Cat is cynical.
Just saying where the trends are going.
Yeah, I know, but what if a sequel came out in 2002 when all that horrible crap didn't exist?
Oh, then I'd totally play it.
Yes. And I don't mean the PSP is horrible crap. I mean the...
No, I'm
the
not saying at all.
The monster huntering of RPGs is
I don't
a
even
terrible
care
trend.
about... I even think Monster Hunter is a good game. It's just, I'm sick of every RPG being Monster Hunter. Just
Yeah.
saying.
There's only one.
over.
Well, the funny thing about that is that the new Seventh Dragon, it's headed by Ryoko Kodama, also
Oh.
in Skies of Arcadia, and that's pretty traditional game.
Or the Seventh Dragon 2 is basically like Etrian Odyssey-ish, right?
Yeah, not so much
It's
the
dungeon
new one.
crawlery. Oh yeah? What did they change about that one?
Well, I think
Aside from
they
being
have,
in the future.
I think the battles aren't first person anymore.
Oh.
There's that, but yeah, it's still like quest based.
And it will never come out in America.
Well, I don't think Skies of Arcadia has been forgotten. A couple of those characters did pop into Valkyria Chronicles.
That's
a
right.
couple
Hey,
years
thanks
back.
for that. Yeah.
That's true.
And I always use them in my party because
Sega
I love
loves-
those guys.
They're great.
Sega loves to do that, like in that kart racing game where they put Shenmue in as driving his forklift.
All
Oh, yeah.
Stars, yeah.
And you're like, that's a terrible thing to do, Sega.
Did you call the main character Shenmue?
No.
I love when Die Hard blew up that building. That's pretty awesome.
Fine,
Okay.
go ahead.
Sorry,
Please
Kat.
make fun of me.
Shenmue was a boring character, I agree. So boring you forgot his name. You forgot his name.
Hey, I
It's
never played
Ryo.
Shenmue.
He doesn't afraid of
See,
anything.
so my nerd cred just went down 5
It
points.
did. If you don't know
It's
Minus
okay.
Ryo Kazama,
won't judge you.
I think. I don't
Looking
know.
No,
for
it's
some
not
sailors.
Hey, I just took a stab in the dark, and I was wrong. So let's move on to our next letter. A jolly fellow is how he identifies himself, and he writes, I feel... Oh, he actually writes in to say that he disagrees with our stance on Kirby Mass Attack. We had a Kirby podcast maybe 3 podcasts ago, and we all agreed that Mass Attack is a fantastic game, but a jolly fellow does not think so. He says, I feel like the game commits one of gaming's cardinal sins in having copious, unskippable cutscenes. Sure, they're short, but when I go back to collect medals missed on the first run-through, I don't need the game to stop and show me a block I've seen dozens of times before. And in his opinion, problems like this make the game feel slower than Kirby 64, and in closing, he wants to know if there are any games we want to like but can't due to one critical flaw. And I would ask you guys to answer this question, please. Who wants to go first? One critical flaw in a game that you otherwise would want to play.
Yeah, I would have enjoyed Metal Gear much more if it wasn't for that story.
Oh,
No, not really.
Strong words.
No, I love that franchise, but I was replaying them in the HD collection, and 2 in particular, Metal Gear Solid 2, just on those cutscenes drag on. They just haven't aged as well
That's
as they could have,
true.
I don't think.
Right.
I mean, I'll still play the hell out of it and love it to death and be there for every single, horrible plot twist. But after a while, I do kind of want to just get on with the
Yeah,
game.
and I think there was a time when it was kind of cute and novel when games were trying to ape Hollywood, and it was kind of fun to watch. But after a while, it was like I want to play the game now.
Oh yeah, revisiting years later when a lot of cutscenes are better contextualized in the actual game. It's kind of tough to go back to that disconnect between cutscene and gameplay and cutscene and gameplay.
Yeah. Kat?
In my experience, most of the games that I've played are... there's no single critical flaw. It's a whole lot of little flaws that are built up until I finally get sick of the game and never want to play it again. Not there aren't too many games that a lot of people love that I don't for that reason. But unfortunately, none of them come to mind at the moment. But Will's points about Metal Gear Solid are certainly valid.
Okay. Matt?
I don't remember. I know I was talking about some game recently that had a really terrible, or really not terrible, but okay. What's the Airtight? What's their new thing? Quantum Conundrum.
Right.
Oh,
This isn't.
yeah.
This is current, but I really want to like that game, but I really hate the art. So I'm kind of having this weird.
What
clash
don't you
there.
like about it? You think it's too twee?
It looks like it's a Midway game made for 5-year-olds, and it seems like the gameplay could be more interesting than that.
Okay. Ray?
You know, I screwed up on the sphere grid on Final Fantasy X so often that I just eventually gave up on it.
How did you screw
No.
up on that? You
I
can't-
always felt like I was doing the wrong thing, always going down the wrong paths and not getting what the abilities I should have. So that didn't feel too good.
As
Final
for
Fantasy
me,
13 too had that flaw of the hot tub scenes and
13-2?
and all the or 10-2.
Okay.
I'm on a roll today.
I'm saying, what do you know that we don't?
10-2 has those hot tub scenes and all that.
Oh, it's not that bad. God.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes,
10-2
it
are
is
is.
they
great.
are they like
and all that idle crap.
giggling and like washing each other's backs and whatnot? I bet, and
What's
they're
up?
talking, comparing their bust size.
It's
I
not
know.
enough to kill the game for me, but it
Yeah.
does make me roll my eyes.
It does. It should. As for me, I'm going to say Shadow Complex. As much as I want to play the game, I cannot give money to Orson Scott Card and be able to sleep at night because that man is a horrible, hateful little troll, and I pray for his death every day.
Wow. Okay, Bob. Is there anyone else that you would like to wish death upon on this podcast?
Not publicly.
Is there a segue that is this a segue? Speaking of death,
Yes, it's my Death Wish 5-minute segment. It's going to be a long list, and none of you are on it, so
yay.
hooray! Let's move on to our main topic, which is GamePro.
And the death thereof.
And the death thereof. Yes, as Will said, and as you should know, dear listener, GamePro closes doors forever as of, what was the last Wednesday?
Wednesday. Well, this website went down yesterday around noonish.
Right.
But, yeah, we all went home and lost access to our CMS last Wednesday.
And that ended 23 years of print publications. Let me just give you guys a brief history based on my cursory research I did today. GamePro magazine started in April of 1989 by a group of people, Patrick Farrell, Leanne McDermott, and Michael and Lynn Cavish. They received funding from a publishing company known as IDG, which remained their parent company for the entire magazine's run, which is kind of strange if you think about it. I mean, 1UP was handed around a lot.
Strange these days. I don't know if back then it was as strange.
I'm just
Even
surprised.
something like EGM ended up being purchased by Ziff,
Yeah.
like sometime in the late 90s. So
Yeah. So let me continue. They received, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but just based on my research, they received 2 really major content overhauls. In 2007 with George Jones, he made it less of a kids magazine, which I guess was sort of the angle. Would you say, Matt?
I don't know
You
if I
seem
buy
skeptical.
He didn't mind. I mean, maybe he made it less of a kids magazine. But
Yeah.
it was still more in that direction.
But and then in 2009, John Davison, who we all know, part of the 1UP Extended Universe, he turned it into more of a American version of Edge, which is my sort of.
I don't buy that either.
Really?
It was a very, very good magazine. I loved it, but
Yeah.
it was not like Edge.
I said he tried to. I think.
No, I think he tried to make it something better than Edge. And I think
Okay.
he succeeded.
I mean that was sort of the goal, right? Like
how
a,
was
like
it better than Edge?
a thinking
Just out of
Edge
man.
is very,
curiosity.
very dry.
Yeah.
GamePro was more interesting.
It had more personality.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to go over the most notable elements of the old GamePro, unfortunately, are sort of the jokier parts of it, which we all know, like pro tips. I think Kat was even giving us some pro tips earlier today when she was doing mic checks. Editors with pseudonyms and cartoon avatars, and they even became action figures in 2002. I sold them at GameStop when I worked there, and no one bought them. So I shouldn't say I sold them at GameStop. I watched them collect dust, and then I watched as we bought them for a penny and set them on fire in the parking lot.
We have a lot of them sitting around at the office right now.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
in, like glass cases and in the vault,
They should be in a museum.
cardboard boxes, and just like Scary Larry and that frog guy. And
Ninja Mike.
I think his name is Bubonic the Blowfrog.
I only
Probably.
the only avatar anyone ever remembers is Scary Larry. Can anyone in this place name another avatar besides Scary Larry?
Scary-
Vicious Sid.
Scary Larry had some sort of
Andromeda.
ninja type guy that he didn't like or something.
I didn't like Sushi X.
Oh right.
Sushi X was
That's
EGM.
EGM though,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know.
Exactly.
It was Scary Larry against like zombie guy or something. I don't know.
Scary Larry was a zombie guy.
Oh right. Jeez. Maybe he just hated himself. Before we go into the questions, I just want to say this podcast is not about me, but I did want to make one little point. Is that I don't know if I'd be here without GamePro because I'm holding in my hand the first time I was ever published in a magazine. And it's from GamePro issue December 1993, and Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters are on the cover. And if you turn to page 245, you'll see that I submitted a tip for Yoshi's Cookie for the SNES, and that is seriously me, and I was like the king of the schoolyard for about a year after that. So I'll pass that around, and I will not sign that magazine. But I mean, I don't even know. Like, it seems like that is what really got me started in thinking, hey, it's possible for me to be in magazines. You know,
I was
mean,
hoping you were going to be Robert Mackey.
oh no, I'm surprised actually it wasn't Bobby at that point. But I guess I had made the transition from Bobby to Bob. So
Oh,
yeah,
my.
Did you write this or did they rewrite it?
they rewrote it. I didn't write that awful. The cookie won't crumble if you do this. But hey, all I did is send them the code.
If
And
it was
they,
me, I
Jim
would have.
Carrey movie.
How
Yeah.
old were you when you submitted that pro tip?
December '93, I was 12.
So what you're saying is that 12-year-old you had better writing sensibilities than
Then a GamePro editor.
Yeah.
Hey, I think I just sent them the code and was like, "Can I get a T-shirt?" And they did send me one, and it was. I don't think I could fit into it today. It was so big, but I think that's my own problem. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there as an interesting little factoid if you're writing my biography out there. But let's get on to some questions about GamePro, and you guys obviously know more about it than me, having worked there. I want to go back in time a little bit to maybe the late 80s, early 90s. Like, how did you guys all discover GamePro? Or did you discover GamePro?